Alright, so I'm back, and today I'm going to go over the viewer responses for my last rant of the week, which was the how I would have done Combiner Wars. So, let's see. First off, we got Sammy Turnage, who says, to all the listeners, don't forget about John's raffle. That's right. I'm still doing the raffle. Haven't had any interest in over a week. I'm kind of debating on ending the raffle, maybe refunding everybody, or start a new raffle, end it, start a new raffle, and transfer everybody's money over if they're interested, or just start a new raffle and keep the first raffle going and see what happens. If you guys don't know about the raffle, check the link below. It'll take you to my Facebook page that I created for it, and it will go over all the information needed about it. Okay, Sammy Turnage then says, when you said Minosaur and Superion swaps sides, the first thing I thought of was Shattered Glass. I know Shattered Glass has a mixed fan base. I wouldn't mind an entry wave, or an entire wave or a year of Shattered Glass. It would be something like never been done. The main market. It's only been exclusive to conventions or that subscription. And then he says, I'd retool Alpha Bravo to blast off too. That's a tough one. While I would like to get some repaints, I'd love to see Decepticon version of Superion. I don't know if they could do a full year of repaints into the Shattered Glass. I think there was a time that they could have, like when they first did Shattered Glass. But lately it's just kind of, it's really winded down on interest. Like, I know the first year Shattered Glass happened, I was like, ooh, I should get into this. And then I realized it was only BotCon figures and only a few of them, and I was like, no. And then lost interest. Seeing Funny John says, did you drink the Forrest Whitaker soda? The side effects with the eye twitch? I'm not sure I'm getting the reference. Pojo1975 says, I agree, John. I think Hasbro should fire whoever's deciding what should be produced and get someone new in, because just from the release of the first sets, all Combiner Wars, if they would have done it the way you're stating, they probably could have made more fans of the series and more money. In the long run, no items sitting on the shelves like the Optimus Red or all the white versions, and the Optimus Red version, I guess, is what he's saying, or the white version, and reusing all the molds over and over until they were a must-to-have later on. Okay, well, it's time to throw in a new combiner for everyone. Name it, whatever, and it would have sold better the way you're saying. Like I was reading the comments, the Seekers would have been awesome, but all in all, you were right. They went about this the wrong way. I'm even looking for what's coming out for G2 colors, and oh my god, they're messing some of the figures up color-wise. The strange colored Motormaster, wow, G2 was colorful, but that thing was ugly. I mean, fugly. LOL. Great rant. Keep up the videos. I don't know if I've seen the Motormaster, but I believe that line was canceled in the G2. So, I'm not sure. And while we're talking on G2 Minosaur, Fans Project, what the hell? You release one figure and then you stop? I mean, seriously. I'm not a huge fan of that Motormaster, but I would have picked that up in G2 colors. Lionel Medina says, great rant as always. You had some really cool ideas, and if Hasbro heard this, I'm sure they wouldn't be going in the direction they're going now. Also, I just wanted to remind you of the 2 rants I suggested on your last video about Hasbro then versus now, and a part 2 on third-party Transformers using the points I mentioned. Yes, tomorrow. RCX001. Well, I think the reason for Alpha Bravo and Alpha was that they did not want to have two of the same figures on one combiner team, and are coming out with a bunch of repaints right off the bat is bad form. Well, they did that anyway. Remember, both Superion and Minosaur, they had the appropriate bots that were repaints of other bots in the line that came out about the same time the Minosaur came out. So yeah, they did that too, and that's not stopping them from doing the same thing with the Fembot combiner. 2 Alpha Bravos, yay. As for the G2 repaints and tranny combiner, having 2 of the same figures, there are box sets, and for the most part, they are spreading out the repaints in other waves. As for Devastator, if the scale had him down, the Constructicons would look small next to the other deluxe class figures. I think you underestimate how big and massive the vehicles are. It makes sense that they're bigger than cars, so Devastator is as he should be. As for the jets and the helicopter, they're flying vehicles and get a pass. Well, I'm sorry, but you can't say these guys scale with these guys in alt mode but these guys get a pass. No, it doesn't. I can understand people wanting figures to scale in alt mode, whereas I'm more of I want them to scale in robot mode. So yeah, if you go with alt mode, yeah, Devastator should be bigger than Superion or Minosaur, but Superion should be bigger than Devastator. And depending on which construction vehicles we're talking about, because almost every construction vehicles I've seen, and there are a ton here, I mean everywhere, but I've seen them, both those massive ones you're thinking of, and there's also ones that are scaled down almost identical to those massive ones that are no bigger than a car. I've seen construction cranes about the size of a large pickup truck. So, I've seen that. It's here. But you're also, one thing to also remember is if they would have done it properly and made all the figures deluxe with the exception of Long Haul as a Voyager, it still in combined mode would be a significant bigger than the other combiners. And then if we're also going on that scale, would the Bruticus, again be one of the bigger ones because he's got a leg for a tank. Again, I've seen tanks smaller too, but I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you on that. You cannot have one thing in scale and then the other one not in scale and say, oh, that's okay. I can't agree with that. Land-based vehicles should scale as close as possible because they're more likely to be close to each other. Wars. Transformers in jet mode are almost always flying. Well, yeah, but there really is no real definitive size comparison between combiners. G1 cartoon sizes are all over the place, and if you want to go that route, look at the movie. Megatron and the Decepticons around him in one scene barely reach his knees, which is pretty close if you look at it at Voyager class figures next to him. But whatever, I'm happy with it. If it bugs you that much, hell, make a good placeholder for a Masterpiece shelf. I think you're all being too hard on Hasbro over the Combiner Wars. We are getting a lot of what we want. So he keeps going. Before we get into further that, the real question is did we all want a Streetwise repainted into Prowl? Do we all want an Ironhide repainted from Off-Road? I mean, did we want that, or are we just taking what we can get? I think there's a huge difference in that, because, like I said in the rant, Hasbro's sticking their fingers into the comic books and altering altering characters' designs to fit their toys, which is not very cool because the comic books have done very well from what I know, and now I know some people are losing interest because Hasbro's getting their fingers into it. So, like I said, I mean, are we getting what we want? Did we want an Alpha Bravo in Superion? Did we want an Off-Road in Minosaur? I don't think so. Are we just taking what we can get? That, I think, is highly possible. And probably more likely. Because if we could get if your options were a downscaled Masterpiece Prowl made by Hasbro, or a repaint of Streetwise as Prowl that can combine, which he never should have, which one would you rather take? Excuse me, just one second. Stop! Shut up! Oh my god! Sorry about that. Okay. And as for our Masterpiece placeholder, I bash on the Hasbro Devastator. I don't have him yet. I am going to get him, and I'm going to review him. But ultimately, I mean, I'm trying not to bash him until I have him in hand. But my thoughts are quite simply, for all those people that say he's a Masterpiece figure, or he's Masterpiece scale, I think they're really stretching. They're just trying to excuse a reason to have a figure that doesn't scale with the rest of their figures. Let's see. The thing you should be completely outraged about is Skylinks. That thing's existence diminishes any hope or chance of us getting a real Skylinks that looks good with the classics. And I would have rather those resources go into a development of Razorclaw or Hungar. Agreed. I mean, I think the Skylinks looks okay. I'm going to get it, of course. But I think ultimately, if you want a good Skylinks, you're going to have to hold out for third party. Because they'll do it right. It's a guarantee they'll do it right. Hasbro's not going to do it right. This is their right. This is my point. This is what they're saying. This is right for them. And you sit there and you scratch your head like, that's not right. But that to them, that's right. That's correct. That's the correct version of Skylinks. That's where, I'm not a Hasbro basher. I mean, I love Hasbro. I've always loved Hasbro and I always will love Hasbro. But I think their decisions as of late are just mind-boggling stupid. Jay Lee says, that's what if I was like, holy crap, if Hasbro did this, they would make so much money. Thank you. I would definitely be making them money. Matthias Morkobus. Sorry. Best case scenario would be the Predacons reworked into Magnaboss. That would be cool. And a few extra members. The Terracons could be reworked into the Seacons, 5-member team, and then they could repaint these things till their corporate heads exploded. Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention. I mean, Seacons, there's the American version of Seacons, there's a Japanese version of Seacons, and then there's a Beast Wars version of Seacons. So there's 3 different versions right there. And then, of course, the Transformers Collectors Club, they had their own somewhat repaint of the G2 or the G1 version when they reissued the set years and years ago. So I wouldn't mind seeing them get their hands on it, and that would be a great way to like celebrate an anniversary. Be like, hey, remember when we did the Seacons all those years ago? Here's the new ones. Alex Dalton says, I think you're right mostly, but I think Blackjack was a good idea as a little nod to G1 Minotaur. Personally, I think the Rook mold makes a good swindle. Hope that we get Beast Combiners and Titan Wars, but I doubt it. They've almost made all the Minibots except for Brawn and Outback and Sea Spray. Also, I feel like if they made a Piranacon, they would cut out the 6-member. Probably cut out the 6-member. Yeah, I have no argument there. Yeah. As for creating all the Minibots, no, they haven't gotten close. I think they really should refocus on those because there's quite a few from G1 that they haven't done. The G1 cartoon, season 1, and season 2, and season 3, and the bits from season. No, there wasn't really many mini cons, but like the spy change or not the spy changers, the clones, Autobot clones or the Decepticon clones. I'd be happy if those were legends. You know, I think that would work pretty well for them. You know, there's the whole Throttlebot team, and if you paint that one Bumblebee gold, that's not Goldbug. So I think there's still quite a few that they could bleed that for a long time. But you know, Young Chen Ku, one small addition suggestion to your mad genius idea. Thank you. A 2 separate leader class combiner parts to form Skylinks. I'll agree and say, you know, that would be cool. But I think Voyager would be good enough too. Because that'd still be pretty big. The leader class, you know, I would be hard pressed to spend, you know, $100 on a Hasbro, you know, set of 2 leaders. That's me. Just because I don't know, buyer's remorse, I guess, with a lot of their stuff. Heath Hinton says, probably be easier to retool blades into a spaceship rather than a jet. I bet that is what they do. I you know, hopefully they'll do a real blast off, but if they did, it's going to be Takara that does it, and when Takara does it, they're just going to do it right and make a whole new mold like they did Groove. It's not going to be a half-assed effort like Hasbro puts out sometimes. Joseph Flanagan says, why not do a leader class Prime with 4 Legends class bots as a combiner? Why? Optimus doesn't combine. Only way I would accept that is if they did it in Energon colors, and the Legend class figures were the little add-ons that he had in Energon. That I would be okay with. Hell, you know what? I'd be okay with that as the Voyager one with the. I'm getting a great idea for a repaint. But yeah, the Voyager Prime with you know, using deluxes as those drones. I think that would be cool, as long as you did it in Energon colors. Then it would make sense. But Optimus never combined in the G1 show. I don't get why people want it. Nobody wants it. I think it goes back to us just accepting what we're getting. RatTrap25 says, that sounds like a great idea, but might surprise us yet. I think the only thing Hasbro's going to surprise us with is how low they're going to go with this. Shaw's 10 says, oh, how I hate Victoria. I hate it a lot. As much as I hate it, looks like a dude in a dress. Ethan says, this may sound crazy, but what about a Seekers combiner? Hell, they're doing everyone else. Starscream as the body, with Thundercracker, Skywarp Dirge, and Ramjet as the limbs, and what the fuck make Thrust an alternate figure? The only thing I'm gonna not like about that is having Starscream bigger than the rest. I would prefer them to be about the same size. Now, engineering-wise, Hasbro would probably shit a brick at this, but, you know, what if they did all 6 as deluxes and use 2 of the deluxes to form the torso, like Starscream and Ramjet would make the torso, and then the other 4 would make limbs. I think that would be pretty cool. I'd be okay with that. Or make all the Seekers out of the limbs and do like Jetfire, a Decepticon version of Jetfire as a Voyager, as the core body. Dinocons, what with you? Combiner Wars Transformers. That's what he says. What with you? Combiner Wars Transformers. I'm not sure how to respond to that, so I'll say Tuesday. TFY's Smokey 102. I think if they did a heavy retool of Alpha Bravo, we could get a good looking space shuttle and blast off. Honestly, when Hasbro puts their mind to a retool, obviously the first thing that's coming to my mind is Springer into Sandstorm. That they did an amazing job there, and even breakdown into Streetwise. Again, they did a great job there. So, when they put their minds to it, they can make anything out of anything. So, and he also says there is one justifiable reason for Hasbro to do all the Autobot repaints. Some kids like myself couldn't find or finish their Combiner Wars Superion or Defensor, now need similar limbs for substitution. Now I agree that all the characters Hasbro are repainting makes no sense, but say I was another kid, couldn't find the First Aid or Streetwise, we could easily use Prowl, Smokescreen, Trailbreaker, and Ironhide as easy replacement for figures. We couldn't find or get. Just saying. Also, scalpers are getting current and old waves very expensive. To answer that one, and this will go into what tomorrow's rant's going to be like. I remember as a kid, I was like, oh, you know what, I might, I want to get into Beast Wars. I go to Walmart, and there's the entire wave of Beast Wars there. And, okay, yeah, half the wave sells out. Oh, my God, I missed out on Silverbolt. What am I going to do? A couple weeks later, they restock. I mean, seriously. They've changed the way they sell toys. Not just the toys themselves, but they've changed it so much that I sit there and scratch my head like, what the hell? Because I remember getting things like the Transmetal Megatron from Beast Wars when I was younger, and it broke. I broke it. I stepped on him. He died. It was sad, and I was upset. So it took me a little while to raise the money again. Doing chores and shit, and got back to Walmart and bought him again. This is a few months later. And it wasn't like, oh, these things are shelf warming. It was more of this is just the current wave. This is how we do the waves. We're not going to put out 4 figures for the wave. We're going to put out 30 figures for the wave, and they're going to sit there for 6 months. So you have your chance to either go and buy them all at once, or you could go there and buy little bits at a time. So I think the big issue with Combiner Wars is that Hasbro is treating it as a secondary line. The main line is that piece of shit RID line, and I think they're putting way too much focus on stuff like that. And then when the movies come out, they make a main line of the movies. But what they really should be doing is, do a full wave of this Generations or Combiner Wars or Titan Wars, whatever they do. Put some focus into it. Not treat it as a secondary line. Anyway. 6-shot changer reviews. Interesting. I think I would have just got sacked over spending for overspending by making all the G1 combiners in unique molds. Ideally, yes, me too. I mean, yeah. So yeah, there you go. There's my viewer response. Sorry if I snapped at anybody, but honestly, I'm getting to the point where I was like, I don't want to hear it when people say, "Oh, this is the best we can get." You know, this is what we've been wanting. It's not. It's not what we've been wanting. I promise you, it's not what we're wanting. If Hasbro released an Ironhide that looked like Ironhide as opposed to Ironhide that looks like a pickup truck, and at the same price point, you're not going to buy the pickup truck. You're going to buy the Ironhide. And you're going to leave the red pickup truck there saying, what the hell is that supposed to be? That's how it works. I mean, that's my problem, is that we're getting good enough figures, or not even that sometimes. And when Hasbro should be leading the charge on Transformers, instead they're just kind of like, these collectors, they'll buy it anyway, and that's not helping. You know, yeah, I want to support the brand, of course. I always will say, support the brand, support Hasbro, because if you don't support Hasbro, then you're not, then it's not gonna last. You know, they'll cancel, they'll just pull the plug. But they're also in that mindset that these guys are gonna buy it anyway. So, anyway, sorry if I snapped at anybody. I appreciate all the feedback. I just and my friend of mine sent me a box of the Devastator, and if it looks like this when I get it out of the box, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. I have a feeling that it's not going to be quite so good, but he got 2 of them, and he wanted just me to see the empty box so I could see the actual scale. And it's great, it's big. Still would prefer all the combiners being the same size. And hey Hasbro, elbows, morons.